Okay, let's get started. Annie, will you read our norms for us?
We're going to bring data from within the past 30 days in an organized format, examine data student by student and target by target, and use data to create specific interventions appropriate for our students' needs.
Okay, and the SMART goal we're focused on for today is on our essential standard for NF3, which is adding and subtracting fractions. And we're hoping that at the Tier 1 level, 85% of our students will achieve distinguished or proficient status on that standard. And then after Tier 2 instruction, would be up to 100% of those students. And then on our agenda for today, we are focusing on the question for how do students know, or how do we know that students have learned it? We're going to look at our CFA protocol for the essential standard, analyze the data student by student and target by target, and then we're going to look a little closer at those CFA questions to see if there's anything that we need to make sure the kids are understanding before the CSA.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's pull up the CFA protocol
Okay.
and look at our percentages. Okay. So it looks like Miss Davison and I were pretty close with
Yeah, you guys had a lot
Most
more
proficient.
students proficient than mine than I did. I'd love to hear like some of the strategies you guys used, because it looks like you guys are a little more successful than me on that one.
I know for me, for this one, we did a lot of like the models. I think that, the actual adding and subtracting, I think is not the issue, because they can do that because it's just, single numbers. But I think the changing it from a mixed number and simplifying that, I think that's where they had difficulty. So we really talked about how to draw the model when they get an improper fraction as their answer.
Okay.
And that seemed to help when we talked about, like if it was 5/4, you're literally drawing 5 1/4 pieces.
right. And I used a number line. It was very helpful
Okay.
to cut the number line in sections and draw it out. And like she said, they were having a hard time doing improper to mixed. And so we would go past a hole and they would write one hole and then they would do what was left over. So it helped them visualize.
So like for me, I was using the virtual manipulatives to build
Right.
those models, so it might be more helpful if they're drawing it, because that'd be what they do on the test.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
let's see.
As of right now, though, it looks like we have 59% that are at or above proficiency.
Okay, and we're trying to get to 85.
Right.
So we're only at 59 in the CFA. Okay.
But we'll
We're going to get there. Okay, do you want to go ahead and break down the CFA target by target, student by student, and see kind of how they performed there?
Yes,
Okay,
'cause we gotta get.
so pull that up. Okay, so looking at each target, we had 2 questions for each target on the CFA. It looks like on target 1,
We're pretty
they were pretty proficient on
Yes.
that. 87% accuracy on target 1.
Yeah, that was just the decomposing, like looking at 3/4 and saying 1/4 1/4.
Right, so
That was the unit fraction.
So I guess that's telling us that they do know how to decompose fractions.
Right.
It does look like there's a couple that could kind of just use a little bit of a reteach on that, but for the most part,
We can make sure that they're in a group together.
yes, I was gonna say we can
We'll
group them
group those
together.
together. Yes.
Okay. And then on target 2, this might, this might be the one we need to look more closely at. Only 64% accuracy on this one.
It looks like number 4 was the one that was given the most
Yeah, number 4.
difficulty.
So in just a few minutes, let's pull that up and kind of see
And that
what number 4 was.
46%.
Because we can see what they're missing on that. Because less than half the kids got that one right. Okay.
And target 3,
So subtracting fractions. Okay.
73%. So looks like we're doing well with
That one's
that.
not too bad. It's a little bit lower than that first target. That's the adding and
Yeah.
subtracting. But no, that's just subtracting fractions.
Maybe look at number
Number
5.
Yeah, and number 6 comes.
Okay.
Yeah. Look at
Well,
that.
and I noticed the thing they had trouble with on subtracting fractions is when they had to rename, or no, that's just for the mixed numbers.
When they had
So
to
we don't have to worry about
regroup.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when they-
But when there was some sort of regrouping, they had
Yes.
trouble with that. Okay. So should we pull up the CFA then and kind of look at number 4?
Sure.
Okay. Let's see what that looks like.
Okay, it says find the difference, and it's 5/6 minus 2/6, which they can do.
Yeah.
But the answer, of course, is
Yeah,
3/6.
they had-
and
they
then
had to
find the
have-
equivalent
Exactly.
fraction.
So they got 3/6, but they didn't understand because 3/6 is not an answer
And of course,
choice.
in class we say write it in simplest form, and this does not have that verbiage on there. So we might need to
Okay.
look a
They
little
just
closer
had
to
to
that
So-
question.
assume that.
So that
Yes.
might, I was gonna say, that might be something we need to teach them, like, listen, if you don't see your answer, think about the equivalent fractions or think about simplifying that fraction to get down to the simplest form.
Which they should if they can make that connection, because that's something we did last year.
I was going to say, I know we've practiced that, but it may just need to be something we need to make sure that they're doing naturally and not like waiting on us to instruct them to do that.
And also, we may want to look at the CSA, since we built the CFA from that.
And make sure
to
there's
see-
no questions.
right, so
Yeah,
look at
like
the
that
verbiage
is
on that.
confusing.
Before we go to that, do you want to look at number 5 too? Because
Yeah, that
Yes.
number 5 was one they missed a lot too. Well, it wasn't quite as bad, but let's see.
a little bit. That one was one of the subtracting ones. Which answer below makes the following 2 problems correct?
Yeah.
So they had
Okay.
to, they had to be able to do, but well, one of them's adding and one of them's
So it was like 2 separate problems,
Yeah.
one subtraction, one addition, but they would have the same answer. So they
Right.
had to understand that they both had the same answer.
I don't know.
To me, I wonder why that was confusing, but I guess it was. I almost wonder if just like all the numbers there,
Yeah, I think it's visual.
The way it looks
it's-
on here,
yeah.
if it looks
Uh-huh.
like set up, it's kind of.
I could see
Yeah.
that too.
I think
So we
it's
may just want to look at the formatting of that question. That could be the problem there.
I think so.
It may not be the content.
Okay. And again, we'll just check that with the CSA also.
Okay. Let's see.
And then number 6 is where, which of the following fraction models represent one whole? So this is again where good practice with drawing the model.
I had a couple of kids
Yes.
ask me about this when
Well-
I did it. They
And I don't know about you guys, so like on this assessment, when it has like all the models drawn and they're all drawn in separate, so it's like 1/6 here and 1/6 here and 1/6 here, does it kind of throw them off? Like I always tell them to rewrite it and just put them all together.
Right.
Okay.
And I also tell them, like, take the one from the one beside it, put it on that and cross it off. And then by the time
Yes,
they
that's a
have
good
all of them
idea.
colored in.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I could, yeah. Or they could just write the fractions too. I know that we talked about
Like an addition problem
Right,
almost?
in a small group afterwards.
Yes.
I talked
I've
about-
tried to show them that too.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do we want to do next? Do we want to pull up that CSA and see kind of how the questions compare, or do we want to go ahead and start grouping our students based on the CFA?
Let's pull up the CSA. You want to
Okay.
do that?
Okay. Let's just kind of skip through and see if there's any that look like the one where they have to simplify. So it almost looks like
Okay,
on the
here's the
CSA,
one that-
was there?
Here's one that says simplest form. So it tells them.
Okay.
So that's going to help a lot.
So the instructions are there for this one.
Right.
They don't just have to assume. Okay. I like that they still have to do it though.
Yeah, like this one.
I want them to be able to do that.
Yes.
Okay.
Number 10, when it's got 2 mixed numbers and they would add it and get 3 4/3, and then they have to change it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
So for those students that were below proficiency on the CFA, what are some strategies that we can do to kind of help push them to proficiency before they take the CSA?
well, I want to try that number line.
Yeah, and I want to try drawing the model.
Yep.
And see if that closes the gap a little bit.
And I put some, I think we could note on here too, lots of modeling for them, like with the adding and subtracting, virtual manipulatives. Like we can even pull out like some of our math manipulatives and have them do it on the table also,
Yeah.
just if they've got a hard copy. But I think models are the key for those kids.
Because it's like they don't get that 5/4. Like it's 1 1/4 because it's.
But you can
4/4.
put them together.
Yeah.
Like, so that would be cool if like we've got some of those fraction circles and we show them separately and then we put them together and see what that
And I have
is.
some of those if y'all want to borrow.
Okay, that'd be great. And so for those kids that were already proficient, we do want to continue to strengthen them because there still were a couple of targets, if we look back at that chart we made, that those kids were missing. So how can we target those proficient kids to push them a little bit further? Really, I feel like the target that they still were struggling with was that subtraction of fractions. Was that
Exactly.
it?
I think maybe.
And the
do-
simplifying.
Do some more advanced renaming stuff
Yes.
too. I know that could be something that
Yes.
we push with them.
I agree.
That's a little bit more.
So simplifying fractions, okay.
And simplifying
then
bigger
renaming.
fractions
Okay.
maybe. Having to find a mixed number and then simplify the fraction even
Yes.
further.
Go back
And you
put-
have that fraction cube that you've been
Yes.
using to extend.
With the
so it's
vocabulary,
great.
yeah.
Okay.
So we can use that.
Good. And then we already had some that were distinguished. That's awesome. So we really need to make sure that we extend them. So I thought about like, what if we look at the 5th grade standard and kind of see how that matches up and aligns with what we're doing now? Like, so instead of adding and subtracting with like denominators, maybe we could change up the denominators a little bit for that group. have unlike denominators and see what they can do.
And how,
I really feel like
that
they
would
could do
encourage
that.
finding the equivalent fractions
Yes,
too.
exactly, which is what
Yeah.
they're still struggling with. That's what I was going to say. It ties in NF1, which is one of our other standards. Okay,
Don't like that.
yeah, that's great.